Hi everyone, it's Jen. I'm back with a weekly update as to how this mom is making games. So last week I was recovering from burnout from the OtomeJam, and I took it easy, did some artwork, thought, gave it a lot of thought what I want to do going forward. I want to implement the secondary protagonist and the secondary vassal choice. I see it as a creator as an opportunity to take a story and explore different possibilities within that scenario. I find it very interesting to take a situation and see how different people react to it. So I think from a player standpoint, it will give the player more choices to hopefully be able to find a protagonist that they can better relate to or that they enjoy following more than if there was maybe just only one choice, and the same with the vassal. So yeah, I've started jumping back into development. I finished Katner, the male protagonist sprite, and Saladre, the female companion sprite, this week, and I've been going back and working on implementing, putting them into the game. Originally, my goal was going to be to put in Saladre first and go ahead and publish the game, or I guess just like update it publicly so that people would be able to choose Saladre as a companion, because I knew that going back and implementing Katner as the protagonist was gonna be basically writing like 3 more routes. The first main route being Joe and Wreath. The remaining 3 routes being Joe and Saladre, and then Katner and Wreath and Katner and Saladre. So implementing Saladre would only be implementing 1 more route. And eventually those routes are going to have variations too, because you can choose to be either in a friendship relationship with them or be more in a romantic relationship. So as I started implementing Saladre, I realized that I'm basically just going to have to go in and write a bunch of conditionals for every script that I have here. So it just seemed to it just seemed to make more sense. Was just a little easier to organize in my mind, to just start working scene by scene and just making all the necessary changes at once, rather than trying to pick and choose, oh, this is where Wreath is, and then I'm going to go ahead and make the option for Saladre. I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go through down the line and just rewrite all these scripts, all these scenarios, so I might as well just implement Katner and Saladre at the same time. So the next published update to the game will probably take me longer to make public, but it'll have both Katner and Saladre implemented. The next development challenge that I plan on tackling is going to be towards working with like the puzzles. I don't even know if I can call them puzzles. Working with the point and click elements of the game to make those a little bit better. I think that during the companion update, I will just go ahead and lower the cost of the interact option to try to mitigate some of the, I guess, balancing issues or problems that people might be having with the difficulty curve. Because it's really not supposed to be a difficult game. I really wanted it to be something more that's like relaxing and fun, that you don't have to spend, any amount of frustration like getting stuck. As I'm going in and implementing the secondary protagonist and the secondary vassal, can see that I have these object classes of player, which is the Weaver or Joe or Katner. And then I have the Vassal, which is the companion, that inherited properties of the player, but they have a little bit of their own thing going on. The leader switch mechanic is based on switching between the player and the vassal, but it's just a true and false statement. So either the player is the lead or they're not. And if they're not, then the vassal would be the lead. So I think that having just the two toggling between the two characters makes that leader function a little easier than, I guess, if you had like a 4-person party like an RPG. When I give the player the choice to choose between if they want to play Joe's story or Joe's story or Katner's story, I'm giving the player the option kind of at the very beginning of the game. Did I do it before the prologue? So I just have this menu option here, and you can see if you choose Joe, then the player becomes Joe, and she has these stats. And then if you choose Katner, then the player becomes Katner, and you have these stats. And that will be the same when you choose Wreath or Soladri. I'm thinking in future games, if I use like similar code to what I have here, that you would be able to switch the player or switch the companions relatively easily mid-game. Like in Soul Labyrinth, I don't plan on there being any options to switch between companions or switch between protagonists. But in future games, it actually wouldn't be that hard to, it's really kind of the same, because every single dialogue option, I end up basically having, like, if it's Joe, then she says this. If it's, Katner. In this case, I just have else, because if it's not Joe, it's going to be Katner. But there's some actions where I just have them as if statements. Like, if you have this person, then they say this. If you have this person, they say this. If they have this person, they say this. So technically, it wouldn't be that hard since I have to write them all in anyways. It wouldn't be like any more work for me. Like if the player had multiple other characters in their party, I have to code them all in for the possibility of them being there anyway. So that's something to think about. I'm really glad that I that I had Zeal's help to implement class objects in this game for the characters, because it really is making this part of like switching or choosing the player and the companion much easier than if I had just been using just straight up variables. So that is basically what I'm doing. I was going through and just adding all the scripts for Katner mainly up until scene 8, where the vassal is summoned. And so I did write the interaction between Wreath and Katner, but I haven't written any of Soladri's main dialogue yet. I have kind of little quips where she's just like talking about moving or like inspecting and stuff like that. Like I have some of those little quips in there. Like the little leader function here where you have the randomized dialogue when you switch leader. This is like in a list format, so I have that written there. And so I think she's already kind of got her tone, the kind of quality of her dialogue. So Joe and Katner are a little more similar in personality than Wreath and Saladre. I would say that Katner is a little bit more blunt, a little bit more distrustful than Joe. He's a little more skeptical as a whole. I think Joe is a little bit more charitable in her assumptions about people and things, where she's a little bit more optimistic. And I think Katner may be a little bit more pessimistic. And so his tone tends to be a little bit more grumpy, for a better word. But I think both of them being of the Beastkin tribe tend to come off a little bit more abrasive than, say, like Ilian as a protagonist was in the first game. I didn't make Simeon the Beast Tribe in the first game. I never published his dialogue, but he was more, I guess, kind of culturally Beastkin than Casca was, being that Casca was mainly surrounded by affluent elves most of her life. She was being trained to be kind of like a courtesan. So I think that Simeon's a little bit more kind of abrasive mannerism is a little bit more typical to kind of the way that a lot of beasts can handle themselves. They just tend to be more blunt. Let's see. So yeah, I've been working on this stuff, and it's hard for me to write dialogue because, again, I think I've mentioned multiple times in the past, I need to be alone in my thoughts, which means I have to have like quiet time. I need to kind of be mentally prepared to kind of get my head into the character, and that's always challenging, and there's not a whole lot for me to share that part of the process, because it would just be kind of like me staring at the screen and like typing. I do try to read some of this dialogue out loud. If in an ideal world where I didn't feel like I was like acting crazy, I would read all the dialogue out loud, because it would definitely help catching mistakes and kind of smoothing over language a little bit more when I hear it out loud. So I'm going to do a little bit of that as I go through and I try to edit Katner's early dialogue. If you want to stick around to hear that, it's going to be super cringe because I'm not a voice actor. I'm not even particularly great at reading aloud. So yeah, I don't blame you if you want to leave in this portion of the video. I'm not even really quite sure why I'm doing this. I guess I just want to embarrass myself. Here we go. Start. Choose your story. The Truth Seeker. The elders claim that all three tribes suffer from the same plight. Regardless if they are beasts, humans, or elves. Each one of us will discover our limitations within a limitless universe. And this unfortunate awareness is the root of all our distress. Tribes rise and fall, desperately fighting against this reality, seeking to overturn the truth of this frustrating existence. I wanted to ask them my questions and hear what they'd say. I feel like that's better. Today marks my 9th year at the sanctuary, 8 of which have been frustratingly. 8 of which have been frustratingly. Master Yalan has finally asked to see me at the training grounds, but I have little faith that my questions will be answered. It's been a while, but Master looks the same as always. Katner, what are the 7 tenets of soul weaving? How silly. What are they up to now? I guess I will oblige and it will be my turn to ask questions. And then it will be my turn to ask questions. And then it will be my turn to ask questions. A giant tree. Some tree that's Jones. What is this? Can't find it. Oh, a giant tree stands before me. Why is it always trees with elves? More importantly, though, something doesn't feel quite right. This tree feels ominous. You feel this way because you fear the shadow and the void. Are you sure there isn't something you're forgetting to tell me, Master? It is what it is. Anyway, I cannot follow you inside from here. My own journey through this tower is currently in another place. See if you can find a suitable vassal, and that should be enough for today. Return to this gate when you're done. I will guide you back to our room. How would a vassal be found in a place like this? Surely they can't be sitting around waiting for me to pick them. Wouldn't it be impossible for them to come to a place like this on their own? You're getting lost again in all the frivolous detail. All that frivolous detail. Focus on you only need to focus on your intent. Excuse me for not being an idiot. You mentioned sacrifice. Comma. So of course I want to know what I'm getting myself into. This can't be this easy, or there will be more of you weavers everywhere. Fine, I can give you some advice. Remember that this place is on the precipice of the void. Spending time here will take a lot of mental fortitude. Observing, interacting, and moving within this ritual all take energy. Click on your portrait in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. This is your status. You needn't worry about anything else at this point but your soul energy. You needn't. If this reaches 0, comma, you will succumb. If this reaches 0, comma, you will succumb to the shadow and become one with the void. So I'm basically risking my life. How kind of you to treat me with such disregard, Master. Stop complaining and get moving. Oh, your mother will be visiting tonight for your birthday. Don't make it awkward for me. Come back before dinner. Are we so indifferent to the lives of others? Or is it just because I'm a beastkin? Doesn't matter. I'm not going to fail. Someone inside the tree is crying. They sound young, like a child. I'd better investigate. First, I need to find a way inside. My first objective is to move through the door. I need to interact with the door to open it first. A trivial task, assuming that the door is unlocked. Why do I have a feeling that it's not? The key is in my inventory now. If I interact with the door, I can unlock it. Now it can enter. I just need to use the move button. About time. It's the voice I heard earlier. As I suspected, it's a child. Tell me, what are you doing in a place like this? Hey. Darn, I didn't mean to chase them off. It's been a while since I've been around cubs. Did I seem scary? I should be more careful next time. That child couldn't be older than 6 or 7. And they were wearing the ceremonial robes of my people. I need to help them out of here. Haha. Really, I'm assuming too much, aren't I? I can't forget where I am. How could a mere kid enter a place like this? There's no way that could be a normal child. Come to think of it, wasn't there something unnatural about the way it moved? Jeez, how stupid of me. I've already let my guard down. Just based on his disarming appearance. Thankfully, my master is not here to witness this blunder. I need to be more mindful going forward. This is unexpected. Not so much like a tree, or like an overrun temple. Well, I think that's enough for now. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you look forward to the next update. Until then, enjoy your week, and don't forget to enjoy that process. Bye.